All right, we're back. Some sort of YouTube issue there. Not really sure what was going on.
Oh, well. Well, we, oh, wow. We're at a bit of a spot right here, too, aren't we? Look at this. This could be the end of Michael Nugent. It really might be the end of Michael Nugent.
Yeah, looks like we're tuning in for the end of Michael Nugent.
Well, he's got some outs, but he needs it now. He's got an extra 4 outs with the 5. 5, ace, or 7, or he is done.
He is done, and we're down to 3.
Wow. Just like that. Bam. Come back. We see top pair against an overpair. Seth Fisher has grinded his way all the way to 3rd place at least. 3rd place money now, which is almost $250,000. It's got to feel amazing. Really could have gone out with that Jack 9 of hearts when there were like 8 players left. It didn't check through on the flop. And look at this setup.
Wow, I'm glad we got the stream back just in time to see a couple big hands happen.
Seth Fisher, if he folds here, he could 3-bet. But if he folds, he really might 3-bet this. He has not been 3-betting light, though, at all. But this is, oh, boy. What a crazy hand. This could be it.
No, the ace-queen's not calling off. The ace-queen's folding.
Yeah, you're right, because he gets the ladder up. He gets the ladder a lot of the time there. Oh, boy. We could be heads up any second now. Oh, my goodness, it's a 10.
It is a 10 and an ace.
Oh, right back at him. He's another 10 now. It could be.
It looks like
right
a 10.
amount of spots.
It's a 10.
Oh, it's a 10. I can't believe it.
That's a good one.
Cannot believe it.
Jamie Baez in the comments.
Bananas.
Jamie Baez in the comments blaming the interns. That is good. Good job blaming the interns.
Yep. Are those the old comments or the new comments?
Those are the new comments, buddy.
Oh, yeah? All right.
It's a whole new world.
I can't tell. I don't know anything. Anyway, that was bloody insane.
Bloody. It was definitely bloody. It was a bloody war.
It's absolutely crazy that really went down like that. Holy moly. Ace Queen versus Ace King, and they don't even get it all in against each other because Trip 10s wing the day.
We get a jack on the turn here in this hand. Should have a little bit of money go in the middle.
Yeah. It is the jack of spades, so that should slow things down a little bit. But agreed, we should definitely be seeing some money getting in there.
Now everybody's got 40 blinds or a bit more, so could have some battles here.
Yeah, this is really shaping up as an interesting three-way deal. So Sebastian probably going to go for value here.
Big value. 1.6 million. What do you think about the sizing, Jonathan?
I'm really surprised. I'm really trying to make it look like a bluff, I guess. Trying to make it look like, the ace of spades or something like that was in the hand. I would think we were targeting a 10 a lot here, or a really bad jack at best. Seems like it's a little too much. But the polarizing nature of the bet may get a hero sometimes.
Did not though.
Yeah.
Not this time.
Well, we can really settle in now, it looks like, for some serious poker now. We got 3 ways, lots of money, and similar stack sizes.
Big raise by Arseni out of the small blind.
Yeah, it's like 3.5x. I actually like that sizing.
Yeah, small to big, I like that too.
I don't know if it needs to be that big once the blinds are this big and everyone's playing so tight, but in general, I like that sizing. So now we get to learn things like, is Seth Fisher going to be raising a hand like this or just limping a hand like this? And we have our answer. We've learned. Feels good.
It seems like Sebastian is going to be doing some pushing in this three-way battle with the big bet
I
with
like
King Jack and with this action here.
I mean, look at what are you supposed to do with Jack 9? You just got to fold it, right?
Yeah.
It's just too much.
Yeah.
I mean, Sebastian could just try and, effectively win the tournament right now, right? Just start raising everything. But
yeah, see if the other guys are willing to play back at all, and if they're not, great.
Yeah.
Get to just take it down slow.
Yeah, take that 2 million chip lead and expand to like a 5 million chip lead just while, and then they start worrying about, well, the other guy busts. It's a 100K money jump now, right? I mean, everything's in play now.
That's a serious money jump.
Yeah. Well, here's an interesting spot.
I imagine we'll see another raise out of the big blind.
Yeah. Last time was a raise out of the Arseny raise last time. Interesting.
Yep. It is a check, and we do get the queen high flop for Arseny.
Feels like a min bet is called for here. A little bit
Much
more,
bigger.
but fair enough. But a bet, like I think a bet was a good idea. Can't imagine Seth's going to call, but. Okay, well, I think
Aces is a good hand.
Sebastian. We'll see if Sebastian decides to 3-bet this or slow play. I expect a 3-bet though.
There's going to be a lot of flats
deep
out
enough.
of the big blind when the button opens, so it's kind of cool to flat with aces some of the time too. Balance shouldn't be a huge concern at this point, though. We should just be trying to maximize value in every spot we possibly can.
Yep, and if Arseny actually has a good hand, you'd really want to try and get a lot more money in right now. This is clearly going to end it.
Yeah.
Or Arseny's going to lose his mind, but I don't expect that to happen. We haven't really seen too much of that.
No.
At one time, maybe the ace-4. It does feel a little bit like in this spot when you have aces and you 3-bet there that it almost feels like you're wasting them though, to like 3-bet, get the fold, and you're like, ugh. But what are you going to do?
Well, King Jack can't just go folding even though this is a 3.5x open.
Oh, for sure. I think it should just be a flat in position here.
And what a flop for the King Jack. Excellent for the King Jack.
Still behind right now.
Yeah.
But got to be a pretty big favorite to win this pot one way or another. I think you should start betting right away. Although check back's a little bit sneaky too now that I think about it.
Does bet and just gets the fold.
Sebastian just folds bottom pair, bottom kicker like it's nothing.
Sebastian Grax is a pretty sweet name.
That's an actual name too. That isn't like a handle. Like Grax. It's like mythological.
Yes. Kind of sci-fi-y. Sebastian Grax, space detective.
He's definitely the bad guy, but not the top end bad guy. He's like the bad guy's lackey, but number one lackey.
Why do you have to
fight him?
Why do you have to be so dismissive of Sebastian? He has aspirations to be the top guy. He has
the top guy.
He has the type of evil in him to be the top guy. Meanwhile, he's getting called by middle pair, and that card is not going to help his case, although it will help his equity.
Well, exactly. He's going to be able to fire again, and I'm curious to see if Seth Fisher holds on. If Sebastian even fires again, though.
I mean, you do worry that Seth Fisher has a lot of nines, and when he doesn't, he's more likely to call with his 6s and 5s because the 9's paired.
Yep. That said, bet here to build a pot, sometimes get a fold. Your jack might be good too sometimes. Turns out it is this time. Seth Fisher this is a card I get. He really has to call again, right?
You would expect to, but it's you really don't want to. I mean,
yeah.
But the story is not great by Sebastian. Sebastian is saying that they have a 9 essentially because
7,
Seth Fisher clearly has 9s in his range, lots of 9s. I don't think Sebastian's betting an overpair, so it makes the value really thin. And I think you do have to call with ace-6.
Yeah. All right, Seth Fisher with 35 blinds here limps the king jack. Is it going to be a limp re-raise? I'm assuming Sebastian raises with deuces, which feels like a no-brainer spot, right? This probably is going to be a limp re-raise rather than a limp call. Mark Davis says you have to call, talking about the ace-6 hand, and I agree. Never feels good, but so it just has to be a limp re-raise, right? You don't want to play this.
I expect a limp call. That is my expectation.
Really? And you were right. Flops well. It's definitely short enough to make a committing raise there, but gonna pick up some more chips now. Definitely not folding on this flop. Hopefully not raising either.
We got a good comment here.
Jamie Bias says Q incorrect prediction. Jonathan incorrect prediction, yes. In 3, 2, 1. Well, I got that one right. So everyone could suck an egg. All right.
I don't think this is a good card to continue on for Sebastian. No, any board pairing card is really bad to continue, and this could be a card where you could take a shot.
You can fold out an 8 almost certainly, and maybe even some kings.
Yep.
Actually, all kings are the same here. This feels like if you're ever going to take a bluff, this is the one to take it on, right? On an ace. So I expect Sebastian's going to bet big, too. Like what, 1.2? Feels right.
That sounds about right. Something like that.
If you had a good ace, you'd think you were good here, and you could bet. I don't know if you'd actually bet 1.2 if you had a good ace. That's the problem.
Yeah.
What are you targeting, right? You'd probably bet like 700,000. That's the problem. But who cares? We don't have to be balanced here, right?
Yeah,
we're three-handed for a World Series bracelet.
Checks back, gives up, and I would have liked to see what would have happened.
Yeah, me too. That's one of those where you're like, I guess you're hoping that you're a little afraid that a 5 might play it that way when the ace comes on the river, checking. I like a check if you have a 5 there.
Yeah, I agree.
So that is the one concern.
Well, we do have middle pair against top pair.
There's the min bet. Likely just a call here for Arseny. Keep the pot small.
Yeah, way too deep. And that is a good card for Arseny, but it also does bring a gut shot for Sebastian.
Well, if Sebastian decides to bet this again, but he does not, let's say he might get blown off it.
I expect to see a call from Sebastian when Arseny inevitably bets. The size is pretty big.
But they are deep enough that Sebastian can really afford this. The problem is the 8 actually does complete the 5-7. You do have a 5 in your hand, Sebastian. 8-9, 7-8. Not really 8-9, I guess, but 7-8, 5-8. Anyway, I don't think Sebastian's calling a third barrel here very often at all. So Arseny's got to bet this, though. Apparently, we're starting. Malt Liquor Host says we're starting to lose the stream again, and it's getting laggy. That's not great.
No, Malt Liquor Host, try refreshing your browser. Sometimes it could be on your end, and I'm not seeing any indication on the stream health that we have an issue.
So Arseny going for big value here. Sorry,
if we do lose it again, we may not be able to get it going. It's unclear. There seems to be some sort of YouTube issue. There's no internet issue on our end. Everything else is working fine. Might be a YouTube thing going on.
He says the screen went low res. Are you sure your eyes didn't go low res though?
Yeah, try refreshing. See if that helps.
Probably already has. Sebastian, really thinking about this. I'm not sure what you can beat here, Sebastian. Called the flop when you bet. So it's like backdoor hearts. It's the only thing you can beat, right? Or a 4 that's turning itself into a bluff. Feels like you have to fold this one. It's not like Arseny's been floating post-flop that we're aware of. Refreshing helped. Oh, good. It helped a lot of people, apparently.
Well, I guess, the
YouTube's
old
having some issues.
giant YouTube conglomerates having an imperfect evening for their streaming
they're worth
services.
like $1 trillion. How could it be good? That said, YouTube's free, and that's pretty awesome. So, fair enough. Anyway, we got Queen 7 against 8-9, and nothing for nobody.
Oh, thanks, Steve. Says loved the book. That's because you got 2 eyes and you can read.
And he feels something, though. He's got a heart and he can feel emotion.
Right.
Well, we got a gut shot and top pair now. That's a pretty interesting turn card. Probably Arsenie's just going to bet this one, and that'll be it. Seth Fisher not getting the right price to call, but is in position and could have floated, chooses not to. Steve, of course, is referring to our book, How Can He Fold? It's Grant and I breaking down 37 different big-time tournament hands from some of the best players in the world and some of the biggest spots of all time. Many World Series of Poker main event final tables, many other stuff as well. It's us having a text conversation about each aspect of the hand and things we liked, things we didn't, us arguing about things, disagreeing about things, and getting into what we think are the main reasons for why the players are doing what they're doing. How Can He Fold? By Grant Dennison and Jonathan Levy. It's on Amazon. It's also on thepokerguys.net if you want an e-copy of it. It's a great book. Look at the reviews on Amazon. It's kind of crazy good. It's like almost all 5 stars. And we didn't even cheat for that. Anyway. Steve says it was a poker book I actually read. I know, right? It's actually like a really fun. As someone who had I read the book like 25 times because I had to proof it a million times, and it's actually a really fun book. It's enjoyable. There's jokes and it's short chapters, so it's not like super mathy, but it's still mathy. It's anecdotes and it's poker strategy combined instead of. We always felt like books were either too much just anecdotes, like here's the story of the time I won a thing, or too strategy heavy for most people to actually want to read. So either you read the book but you didn't get much out of it, or you didn't read the book that you could have gotten something out of. So we tried to make a book that had both things, that it was fun to read and you could hopefully still get things out of it as well. Malt Liquor host says, if I get it, you guys going to sign it? Absolutely we will. That's true for anyone who's on the stream, anyone ever. You come to us with the book, we will sign it for you. Absolutely. For no charge, no extra charge. There's a normal charge, of course, the normal signing charge for anything. But that's not true. No signing charge. Of course we'll sign it. We'd love to sign it. All right, so we got 4 minutes left where 3 hands are tight in terms of how close it gets. A 6 million stack, 7.5 million, and the 8 million of Arsenie. And Seth Fisher, who has been short forever, now in reasonable chip position and has a chance to actually win this event, which feels like a miracle based on some of the things we've seen. Of course, Arsenie was a river card basically from being out of this tournament maybe 4 players ago, and sitting here on the chip lead now. That's how poker tournaments go, though. I don't mean to act like in some way Arsenie's lucky in a way that he shouldn't be. Everyone gets lucky to win a poker tournament, especially one this size. Thousands of people entered this tournament. We're down to 3. You have to get lucky. Grant, any thoughts on any of the strategy that you might employ here where you've got these stacks being relatively similar?
This is one of the most strategically flat scenarios where there's not necessarily a particular strategy that works better than others because there's no pressure points that you can put on players based on ICM as easily when the stacks are so similar. So I think it's mostly just about playing your game and staying in your comfort zone as best you can. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think you should just. I think the thing that's important is not to play too tight here. Not meaning you have to open up and lose your mind, but I think because so much is on the line, it's easy to want to be careful, and you can careful your way into third place and with no chips left really easily. Where you just fold way too many times on the flop or on the turn when you're supposed to call, but you don't, kind of a thing. You know what I mean? So I think that's the only adjustment I would make, is I would sort of really try and be clear on my ranges, what parts of my range I'm continuing with on each street, and then actually doing it, unless I have some very, very good reason not to. Not just, I hope I don't lose, which I think come into play a lot when you're three-handed for this much money and a World Series bracelet.
That's fair. It is easy to make what you know are too tight of decisions because you let the money get to you. And at this point, everybody's won what is for most people in the world life-changing money. $236,000 being the next payout. It's not necessarily, maybe not life-changing, but really makes things a lot smoother, for the near future at least. And
I mean, it's a $1,500 buy-in, right? Like some of these guys, maybe not these three guys, but a lot of people who entered this event, $236,000 is the difference between a winning or losing year for some of them.
True.
You know what I mean? So it's possible for one of these guys, they're down 100K on the year because they've been playing a lot of tournaments and it hasn't gone well, and bam, now they're suddenly going to be profitable. And it's a huge, huge sort of psychological accomplishment, almost as much as it's a financial one.
Sure. So
Jamie Baez says, yeah, go ahead.
I just think at this point you should be happy to be in this position and try to take that mindset into applying, just doing the right thing and not being overly passive, because no matter what, the outcome is going to be good. There's clearly better outcomes than getting third. But if you make the most plus EV decisions possible, that gives you the best chance to win the most money, obviously. So you should strive to do that.
I was playing in at the Chinook main event, which I think at the time was like an $800 buy-in event. And Angela Jordanson, who a bunch of you may know, either just because you know who she is, or she won 3 straight tournaments in a series a few years back, and it sort of went a little viral in the poker world that she had done that. And we were at the same table, and she just I was like 2 to her left, so I didn't really have to deal with this, but she 3-bet almost everyone at the table mercilessly. And afterward, I was talking to her about it, and I said, wow, did you play a lot of hands? And she looked at me and she said, I did what the table let me get away with. Whatever they let me get away with is what I'm going to do. And I think that's a good strategy for these kinds of spots.
Sure.
What are they going to let me get away with? Let's find out,
Well, they're going to let,
really all
they're going to let Sebastian Grax get away with a walk with the King 3 as we are back.
Yes. All right. See, this is Seth Fisher has to play a hand like this in the spot. I'm glad to see him doing it.
Yep.
And notice also, a min raise is all it takes to take this down so much of the time. People are playing tight. People aren't just going to get involved with crappy hands just because. Even if they're supposed to, they're just not. Jamie Baez says that stream after stream, we're seeing folks play super passively with the money on the line, mining the nuts. That is correct.
I mean,
you would think if someone decided to really open it up,
we see it every year in the main event, the final table. Of course, that's many times the amount of money that we're talking about here is in the main event, but still, it's for the same reasons. We see people just really, really tightening up.
The guys who don't, I mean, sometimes they flame out for sure. They can flame out big time, but they can also P.S. Hines, Kui win the whole thing and put themselves in position to do so. All right, here we got middle pair against bottom pair. We're going to need a big turn card, though, for something interesting to happen. Seems like a pretty straightforward just call spot for Sebastian.
Mm-hmm. Nobody likes that card.
And I don't know if anyone can go for value here. Pretty tough.
I don't see it happening.
Sebastian could decide to try and get value from a worst 4. That would be pretty much it. Salt Liquor Host says 200K difference between first and third. I'd be grinding it out too. Fair enough. Fair enough.
It's a big difference.
I mean, I might be too in that spot. Don't get me wrong. But strategically, or sort of can step back from it for a second. It seems like that's probably not the way we win the most money most of the time, right?
Yeah. Seeing a lot of bad hands in the blinds. Eventually we will get a confrontation.
Oh, yeah. It's one of those things for Seth Fisher where you raise this hand and you're like, all right, I mean, I'm just going to have to call it off.
Yeah.
I'm going to be in a race a lot.
Interesting how bad the hands have been in the blinds, and people are getting hand on the button. That must be some Illuminati stuff right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously going to continue. We could see that that's.
Is Sebastian going to continue the pattern of raising out of the big blind when limp to no? Does flop a gut shot against bottom pair.
In position, assuming Seth Fisher does not even continue. Or not continue, does not bet, I should say.
Continue to enter the pot with money?
Yeah, there you go. Feels like a pretty easy check call for a min bet.
It would be surprising to see a fold. At the same point, not as surprising as some other times in my life.
No doubt. All right, so the question is, will Sebastian take another whack at this? Or just throw it, or just give it up? Take the equity, whatever it is. I'd like to see another whack, personally. I don't think we get there enough. Not to try and add some fold equity. And there it is. Nice sizing, too. Look at the size.
This should do it.
This has to do it. Wow, that's like interesting that Sebastian chose that sizing for sure. I'll have to pay attention to that and see if Sebastian sized it up as bluffs post-flop. So we haven't seen too much post-flop play out of these guys yet.
We do see the raise out of Arseny when we get the limp, and this will probably just work.
Yeah. I'm curious to see if we'll see any limps with really big hands from the small blind once the button folds. Oh, wow, we have a potential confrontation right here. But Sebastian raises, understandably, but may cut short some of this confrontation. We'll see.
All right, this is where we really see if Seth Fisher wants to win this thing or not. I mean, this is kind of a clear shove, but it's scary. You don't love it. The ICM is terrifying.
You haven't seen that many light 3-bets either. I'll say that. Like, we really haven't seen it out of this table. Arseny did do a 1 light 3-bet before with ace-4, and you know that.
And Seth Fisher does go for it. It's going to get through. It's going to be a huge pot without contest for Seth Fisher.
Yep. Seth Fisher's going to zoom into second place, assuming we do see the fold, which we just have to, right? Arseny's just trying to make it look good. Oh, man, that's got to feel good when you see those two folds, though.
Nothing for anybody on this flop.
Arseny should be successful here. Should be. Do have 2 overs to the 5 and some dumb back doors. Sebastian.
Maybe Sebastian is considering a raise. No, calls. Okay, so this is a float. This is not about the equity of King 7 off here. I think Sebastian's going to see what happens.
Sebastian might be thinking King High is good sometimes on the flop.
Maybe that could be a tiny piece of it, but I would not expect Sebastian to check the river if Arseny checks back here. I think Sebastian plans to bet the river.
There's a 7, so that's going to change it. There's no
now
need to bluff.
Now maybe it's a check. Now maybe it's a check for Sebastian.
Yeah. I mean, I think you actually are probably supposed to actually bet here mostly. But you figure a 9 is going to bet if you check anyway, and you want to try and get called by a 3 or 5 or maybe some ace highs. But I don't know.
I mean, whenever we talk about that, you're leaving out the allowance of bluffing a little bit.
But Arseny chose not to bluff the turn anyway. So Arseny's, and based on how these guys have been playing, there hasn't been a whole lot of bet, check, and then bluff river. We haven't seen that line very much.
That one didn't seem like value because that was nearly a pot-sized bet, by the way. So that was kind of a bluff then, right?
I don't think it was a bluff. I think it was just a polarizing bet that was actually not polarized. A non-polarized hand that was with the polarizing. I think it was trying to get a hero, trying to like rep diamonds that missed and like get heroed by a small pair. I don't know if it was good. I don't think it would have worked anyway, but I think that's what it was. All right, here's the limp with the king queen, and now we got
a cooler.
Something.
This is a cooler flop.
Let's see how Seth plays it.
if you raise, you can rep all 27 combos of 2 pair that exist because you just check back in the big blind. But
Look at the
Seth
turn.
does just go with the call, picks up
some
the
more
gut
outs.
shot.
Arseny should definitely bet again and does. Bets big. Seth cannot fold this hand. This is unfoldable right now.
Could
Question
raise.
Is raise or call.
Raising
raise
is
reasonable.
Kind of cool.
Yep. Don't even have to raise very big. 1.2 is fine here.
Just calls and gets there. So
Woo!
I think Arseny's very likely to check. Very likely to check. And then the question is, how should Seth size it?
Yeah. Everything got there too. Look, 4, 5, and hearts both come in. It's a death card for Arseny.
It is. I wonder if Arseny can find a fold on certain sizes.
I mean, the Ace of Hearts is the true death card, I guess. For
Arseny
oh my gosh!
What? I don't know if Seth can raise. I don't know if Seth can profitably raise against this line.
I don't think he can. Like, what's he? He's got to get called by worse hearts. Like, that's about all. Maybe 4 or 5 can call him. I think it's just a call. I'm really surprised Arseny bet there.
Trying to get value from a worse queen, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Well, when Seth calls the turn, he's putting Arseny on a made hand because it's like combo draws only. I guess he's thinking, right? Like,
Seth does go for the raise.
Wow.
I would be very surprised if Arseny called.
Agreed. Arseny has to have at least the king of hearts in his hand to call here. I think that's the combo of king queen if he's going to do it. Got to block hearts a little bit.
And does make the prudent fold, but that one's going to hurt for Arseny.
Look at how the stacks have changed.
And the blinds went up.
Oh, my goodness. Arseny with less than 20 blinds and Jack 10. Seth Fisher, the chip leader now. Arseny really short compared to these other two. Wow.
Arseny might be about to get shoved on by Sebastian.
Probably, right?
A lot of players will call here.
Yeah. They are relatively deep, so.
But it is a shove.
And Arseny can't call. And now 16.5 blinds. And I wonder if Arseny just thinks everyone's picking on him right now. Mm-hmm. They're not. They have it.
Opening it up here, Seth Fisher.
Yeah, Seth Fisher's opening. He opened Jack 7 suited a little bit ago on the button, too. Look at this. Sebastian calls with the king 8 and the small blind.
Gets the flops. Ultimate flop. Wow.
This is the flop you dream about, like at night when, the sheep have all stopped being counted.
Hey, look at that turn card. Turn. It's not just a diamond, it's a 10.
Oh, it's the dream turn card. This is crazy what's happening right now. This could be a monster pot. And look how they're set up. Look how close the chip stacks are. I mean, they're not going to get all in here on the turn. Like, it seems very unlikely. Like, Sebastian's not going to, even if there's a raise, which I wouldn't expect Seth to do. We saw Seth call last time in this spot. Sebastian's only going to call a raise, right? Isn't going to shove.
I mean, Seth can represent the nuts here. You could check back with ace-queen on the flop.
How about the dream flop for Sebastian Gray turns into the nightmare before Christmas, and now it's the flush for Seth Fisher, while Sebastian still has top pair. This is crazy.
I don't think we're going to see Sebastian bet again, but I was very surprised to see Arseny bet in the same scenario last time, so I don't know for sure. There is the check.
Does check. All right, so how should Seth size this? How big should he go?
I think big.
Like half pot. Oh yeah, how big?
I like pot. I like a pot size bet here.
Oh wow, that feels too much. It. What are we supposed to have that we called the turn and now can bet a polarizing amount on the river? That is as a bluff, I mean.
Could be some spades.
We could have some spades, but yeah, fair enough. I guess we could have some queens too. We can have like queen 8.
Yeah.
Queen 7 suited. A bunch of suited queens that aren't diamonds. I think I like a half pot bet better because he does go full pot.
Let's see how Sebastian replies.
Yeah, what's he gonna do here? Seth goes back to back with flush.
He makes the call.
Wow. It's not crazy. He's got top pair. So they went check on the flop. He checks the river as well. Seth now has more than half the chips in play. Oh, how the turns have tabled.
What a come up for The Canadian Wonder Boy, Seth Fisher.
Leah's Chalk says, morning from the UK. And look at this. We got the raise and the shove. That's just going to get through. Look at that. Leah's is saying he's going to enjoy croissants and English muffin. That's messed up.
That's too much bread. Your gluten content is too much.
Also, you're just crossing the streams there. Like, bad things happen when you cross the streams, right? Just saying. Going to confuse your taste buds. All right, Arsenie's got to like seeing ace-jack here. Sebastian should just probably be raising, though.
Does limp.
It doesn't.
I kind of expect a shove from Arsenie right now.
700K is fine, too. 600K. But
yeah,
I might just see a shove. There it is. Yeah, the smaller one. And this is just going to work.
If by work you mean get a fold, then yes.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's fine.
It did not.
Oh, my goodness. The limp call with queen 6 off out of position by Sebastian Krax is a shocker. Look at that tiny bet.
I like that on that board.
So I think we can definitely say that worked then, right?
It did work.
That worked even better than getting a fold. Extra chips. Wow. And Seth is now in position to put huge pressure on both players. They have similar stack sizes.
Interesting check back there from Seth.
Wow. Seth could have moved in there.
Yeah.
Seth can just start moving in theory, if he wants, with a lot of hands here. It's 26 blinds effective and unbelievable ICM pressure. Not crazy at all. This is what Daniel Divorce was doing for the entire Millionaire Maker final table. Worked great.
Arsenie limps the king-queen.
I am very confused.
Well, everybody's flopped a pair.
How about that? You don't see that very often, 3 ways. And a different pair at that. I mean, can Seth just fold middle pair?
Player behind and no real chance for improvement. I actually kind of get it.
Yeah, me too. And there's an improvement for Sebastian.
Turns open-ended.
Going to be stuck to this pot a little bit more now.
I actually kind of like this as a check raise. I know it's ICM risky, but we do block straights. We do have equity if we get called. It's a powerful looking play.
Assuming we're not up against the nuts. Yeah.
Yes, assuming that.
Definitely can't fold. We know that. Folding seems insane.
There is only one card to come, and the bet is pretty big.
Yep. It's true.
Arsenie usually has us beat having bet into 2 players on that flop.
So you want to make it 2 million and go with it if we get shoved on?
I think I'd rather shove than make it 2 million.
Just shove? It's going to put a lot of pressure. It's going to be tough for Arsenie, but probably has to call off. Probably.
I don't know. That becomes a close one. We do get the fold.
I get it, right? Like, if you don't want to raise, calling out of position with 1 card to come doesn't seem great. None of the options were really that palatable, honestly, that time around. But I think like Ola Shemian would have shoved there, or would have at least put in a committing raise, like 2 million plus, whatever it is.
Depends on which scarf he was wearing at the time. He's got his aggression scarf and his love scarf, which is for when he's feeling compassion for all humans.
Seth Fisher with the 8 deuce, but flops bottom pair. Seth Fisher really actively choosing not to raise the big blind when Arsenie limps the small blind, both with ace 8 and 8 deuce. So the good stuff and the bad stuff, just checking it all back. It's interesting. Might be time to deny a little equity. Maybe. Perhaps. Nope.
Jonathan's wrong again.
I didn't predict it. I just said it might be time.
Yeah, because you can't predict things anymore because then you'll be proven wrong. So you have to do the waffling thing.
Nah, I just wasn't sure what he was going to do that time. Wow, he never bets. No one ever puts a chip in, and Seth takes it down. Not crazy, but you know, I think Seth would be served to like turn on the aggression just a little bit here with these stack sizes being what they are.
I agree.
But Seth doesn't, and Seth is the chip leader of this high roller event with 3 left. So, in fairness to Seth.
Jack 5 out flops Jack 9 here, but unlikely to get any action from the Jack 9, obviously.
Yeah.
Maybe Seth will take a stab.
Check, and a Jack on the turn would be nasty.
Well said. It's not going check.
The non-Jack of spades. The Jack of hearts on the turn. That's the nasty one. Leah's chalk, by the way, if you notice, got the Ghostbuster reference. Good job. Someone cares about these references, Grant.
I'm sure they do.
He was making fun of me, Leah's, before, and it wasn't nice.
It wasn't nice, but it was of value to society for me to do that.
Why you gotta hold me down, bro?
Gotta believe Seth is gonna defend.
Yep.
No. Folds.
Wow. I mean, I think that's like a defend or 3-bet spot.
Yeah.
Almost always, but wow. I mean, maybe Seth is thinking some version of, if I don't get too involved, I can maintain my chip lead. And if one of these guys, maybe these guys cooler each other, or I cooler one of them, and bam, I was $100,000. I ladder up 100K. Look at this. Here's a 3-bet from Sebastian.
Sebastian is not going quietly into the night. What can you do with King 10 here? You guys just got to throw it away. Unless this has been happening constantly, then you can shove it, I guess.
I mean, you are allowed to call. You're 3-handed in position, getting 2-1 on the button. It's not that.
But the stack to pot ratio is terrible. Then it's terrible.
Well, it means if you flop a pair, you can't fold. That's what it means. You assume the implied odds are good if you flop a pair, because the other player's often going to get it in with you. Hey, here's the spot. You might see a 3-bet right now. This feels like a pretty easy shove for Arseny. There it is. Like, you don't have to fold King 10. King 10 actually flops okay,
It flops okay, but offsuit, stack to pot ratio.
It's not ideal. I just don't think our only 2 options have to be fold or shove there. Do it again, Sebastian. It worked last time.
No, didn't do it.
Leah suggested your first hand the other day, the Helmuth Antonio hand. We actually have already recorded that. I'm not sure if we got your suggestion in before we recorded, so you may not get credit for it. Just a warning, because we got a bunch of requests for it right away and did it pretty quickly. But that is a great hand.
I think Leas is actually one that we did get.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Sebastian's just going to shove this, you think, or go for the smaller 3-bet?
I smell a shove. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. That's the easy decision, right? You just don't have to worry about anything, have anything weird happen. Fold out pocket 6s instead of have to, have them shove on you and have to flip.
Sebastian with another hand.
They said they'll remove it, but the healthcare costs are dramatic with the recovery and stuff.
That's my laugh for that joke.
There's actually a baby I saw who was born with 3 arms, and they removed one of the arms, and now he's 2 arms. But I saw the photo of him with 3 arms. He's very cute. I actually thought to myself, maybe it'd be cool to leave the 3rd arm there. Who knows? This could be the next bit of evolution, but they took it off. Why do we have to make everyone look like us? 3 arms.
This is where you go with cool when I said another good hand, and this is what happens.
You don't like it when I make Mr. Fantastic jokes, so I have to go here. This is what you leave me.
You don't have to. There's no have to.
I feel obligated to do something like that.
We have a question from Dan P. What happens if/when Sebastian's clock runs out? They just will no longer have any extra time. They'll have to just use the initial little wind down clock that happens when everybody's action starts.
Yeah, and his hand will be killed if he runs out of time, which is unlikely to actually occur, but you're right. It's a fair thing to keep our eye on, actually. The 1 minute and 13 seconds left for Sebastian is not a lot of thinking time. There may be some spots where you may regret only having that much time left. Leah says, it could be handy having another arm sometimes. Tell me about it. How about like when you're hanging a picture? That'd be amazing to have a second arm.
A second arm?
Yeah, a second arm. Yo, you only want one arm when you're hanging a picture? Good luck with that, buddy. So
Jonathan Levy.
Arseny Rivers the 7. Not a lot of money's gone in here. See if there can be any value. Sebastian doesn't go for it. Gotta believe Arseny's probably going to check this back. Yeah. No, but having 3 arms, there is a lot you could do. Think about how much quicker you could make a sandwich with a 3rd arm. I mean, wow. Get dressed.
Let's just move on to a different joke already.
All right. Oh, I got to say this then. Michael Mosley says, really going out on a limb here. Thank you for that. I appreciate you. Oh,
Jamie Baez has a point.
Jamie Baez makes a good point.
Well,
we got so wrapped up in all this other stuff.
We can't do it yet. We have to surprise him with it.
Yeah.
There's the club for Queen 9 with the club.
Well, suddenly, Seth Fisher with the straight flush draw. And overs in the straight draw for Arseny. And the 8 comes in. Well, it's just going to be a chop.
Oh.
That's sad. The thing is, it looks like it's a chop because, there's a straight on the board. So you might think, I've got the 9, and this guy thinks it's going to be a chop, but it is a chop. Do you see how sad that is, Grant?
It's very sad.
Man, there's a lot going on in the chat window right now. I'm just going to say it. A lot.
Yeah.
There's references to podcasts from at least a year ago. And there's the chop.
I believe it was J.K. Rowling. Before all of the controversial stuff with her started coming out, even.
That's right. J.K. Rowling with the limb garden. It's just a really normal thing, by the way.
Yeah, totally normal.
Garden full of arms and legs and dirt and water them. And it's not a big deal.
Why are you saying that? You're saying that so defeated. You're like, it's a garden full of arms and legs.
No, I'm not. I'm just trying to. No, I'm not saying defeated.
Nobody.
I'm saying it like it's. I'm saying it casual. I'm keeping it casual, like it's not a big deal.
Hey, we're seeing this play out again, where Sebastian limps and Arseny raises,
and there's the call.
Gets the 9 for Sebastian.
Arseny really trying to win these spots, trying to take some aggression in these spots, and it's really not working out so far. But I like the effort, and it may pay off down the road. Starts with the small size, and we've seen Arseny generally go small on the flop and then size it up on the turn.
Does pick up equity as well.
Yep.
Gut shot.
I mean, 1.1, I don't know if it's going to do it or not, but it might. Checks it back.
Could try to rep this 3. Although, was the pre-flop raiser making it less likely?
I mean, Sebastian has I think should just be check calling here, right? Unless some weird thing happens sizing-wise. There's the check. Arseny with one of the worst hands he's going to have, but should he fire? I mean, this is not a good board to fire on, and the line is suspect.
It is a suspect line.
The recruiter
just does give up. It feels weird to check back in position with 6 high.
When you don't fire the turn either, yeah. Like you didn't take 2 barrels at it. It does feel weird, but oh well. What do you think? Just jam this?
Most of the time, yeah. There it is.
seems like. Also, you're the short stack. Like you should be doing a little risk. You should be risk seeking as the shorty.
Well, we might have a conflict here. Surprising fold from Arseny, but it turns out to be the right time with the king 6.
Seth gonna do one of those limps, a little limp play with a good hand. We've seen him do it a few times.
Nope, not this time.
Just raise it. Oh, well.
Sebastian
Interesting spot
could call.
Sebastian.
Could make it something like 1.8 million.
I think he's gonna call because Arseny is short, and I'm right. I'm finally right about something.
He finally did it, but he gets outflopped by Seth Fisher.
That's fine.
There's some decent turn cards for the ace-10 with the 10 of diamonds, but they're not amazing. Not that exciting.
Yeah.
But I expect that Sebastian will call once. I mean, he does have a good ace high. Seth could have really anything.
On this board, I think he has to call once.
Ooh. Well,
wow.
That's the end of that. A king for a chop. Other than that, Seth Fisher will win this hand. Or
Seth
get
probably
bluffed.
This lines up really well for Seth Fisher to check. And I'd expect Sebastian to check back with a hand this good. And Seth might, depending on the river, Seth might really be in line to get called. Oh, wow. Sebastian. Denying equity?
A little bit of denying
Bluffing
equity. While repping a 7 too.
Yeah.
Even
and
a little bit of a king. A little bit of king.
Would play a king like this. Would usually just call a king on the flop, right?
I really want this to be another barrel on the end. I really want to see Seth be put in this spot and see how he responds.
Yeah,
the bottom end of the full house.
Could he talk himself into like best I'm doing is chopping kind of a thing? Diamonds just come in, but diamonds wouldn't bluff. Yeah. There we go. Sebastian. Wow, and Seth once again back to 12 million.
Well, Mike, when you have a king in the small blind, doesn't it just make you feel kind of like a king yourself in life, you know? Because it's such a good hand, such a good card to have a king. You only have one opponent.
Well, Vince, the ballet dancer's going to have to do some real leaping to get away from this one.
Oh, Mike, that was just a quick one, but look at this. We have king 10. We have king 10 for Sebastian Grax on the button. Jonathan, is this it? Is this a big one right here? Sorry, Mike. Your name is Mike.
Is he just... I got to wait till he does this to do the Mike Sexton thing. Hold on. He just calls with an ace. He doesn't 3-raise with an ace in his hand, Vince. Every time, Mike. Every time.
Maybe he's laying the twigs in the berries, as you see. He's got that nice little pit dug. He's got little sharp sticks at the bottom of the pit.
With a hand like this, I think you just say, "If you got me, sir, well, congratulations, good job," and you just go with it.
I don't feel like that was quite a Sexton accent. That was more.
No,
it had more twang to it.
Well, Vince, I've lost it a little bit right now, but it's okay. The content is good. Just the sound, the tone is a little off. Your Vince Van Patten is actually pretty good these days. Or maybe I just hear you doing Vince Van Patten so much. I think you're doing a good impression of yourself doing Vince Van Patten.
I'm just doing a gravelly voice. I don't know.
Yeah. Still good. That was more designing women, says Jamie Baez. Yeah. Whew. Good stuff.
Well, to that question about the clock earlier, Sebastian is about to run out of clock. The other two players only have about 3 minutes left also. This could become a factor.
Yep. I mean, can you imagine being Sebastian, being in a really big spot? I think Seth could really try and take advantage of that a little bit at times. Yeah. Maybe hard to know, though, when it's going to matter. Because Sebastian obviously is going to get, 20 seconds or something, 30 seconds before it gets to the actual clock. But maybe in a big pot, you could put in a big bet and think like he doesn't have much time. It's going to be harder.
Well, I think we're going to have an all-in confrontation here. And I think
it's
Seth Fisher is going to be very close to heads up or heads up after this hand is over.
I mean, all the equity goes to Seth Fisher right now, assuming ace queen doesn't fold. There we go. Seth Fisher almost guaranteed a top 2 finish right now.
And there's the high flop might mean that Sebastian is going to have 16K left, which is an incredibly, or not Sebastian, excuse me. Sebastian has the 4s. I got confused again.
Yeah. It's okay.
It's late.
It's going to happen. Late. Sebastian all in because the ante alone was enough and also dominated. Oh, sorry, the small blind. The ante. No, it's just the ante. There it is. Completely dominated.
And
got 3
does
outs.
it even really
40.
matter if he wins? I mean, like it matters, but it's such a long road back at this point.
Nice. Drawing dead on the turn, and here we go. We are now heads up for the bracelet for the last, what is it, 100K or so to be won.
Yeah, these guys are very likely to be playing for more money than they ever have in their lives. They are playing for $120,000, more like $115,000 is the difference, and they can't make a deal because it's the World Series of Poker. Almost certainly in almost any non-World Series of Poker situation, you would see a deal when it's a $1,500 buy-in and you're playing for a lot more than $1,500 at this point. You're playing for $115K. So high leverage moment. And Arseny with a hammer lock on the first hand with the full house.
Yep. For sure. The good news for these guys is because they have locked up $328,000, even though they're playing for 120, which is a lot. This is like the first time where there wasn't more to win still, then they've already won, at least. Yeah. So that's something. Here's Seth bluffing. I like the idea, Seth, but it is not going to work. There's the call. At least he didn't river a 9 or an 8, which might have gotten a few more chips out of him. He could, although now maybe he's going to feel, no, he can't feel obligated to bet again, right? How can he bet again?
It's not a very good board to take a shot. I mean, he's doing it though.
I mean,
I don't think Arseny can raise. I don't think Arseny can raise.
What's the point? How can you ever get called by a worse hand if you raise? You have to have such a dynamic, right?
It is just the call. That's a nice first hand for Arseny. Yeah.
We really haven't seen Seth Fisher doing any crazy bluffing at all. Like he's waited until heads up to start taking shots.
Well, this is when ICM is no longer is no longer a thing. So that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. Also, as the big stack, maybe just give himself a little more license to go for it. Well, Arseny might get in a little bit of trouble here. Noah says, great seeing you guys on YouTube. Love the book too. We love that you love the book, my friend. Thanks for watching. There's a set. Well, the only really bad cards on the river for Arseny is a deuce is obviously a disaster. That might cost him the whole tournament, but an 8 is the other really bad one, but it shouldn't be too bad.
I don't know if a deuce would even cost him the whole tournament. It would just be like a bet and a raise, and I don't think you can ever 3-bet.
Yeah, 3-betting would be crazy. You're right. And that's a scare card for everybody.
Yep.
Arseny might think a deuce isn't good enough and decide to bluff here, but Seth Fisher's hands is just a little too good to ever consider folding. Doesn't matter how scary the board is when you got a set of 6s right now.
And this is a bluff. Yeah,
for sure. But Seth Fisher just has to call it the set of 6s.
Yeah, you have to call it something that's not a straight. So yeah, this has got to be it. Sets, 2 pairs, some 2-pair hands. There might be some value that you're beating here, even. Right, you can beat maybe some other 2 pairs. You can maybe beat some sets. It's unlikely, but it doesn't matter. Oh my gosh, that super thin raise,
crazy thin. Wow,
does not block 7-8 or anything.
This seems like a very dangerous decision, especially because the turn
has 7-8. An 8. Arseny has an 8 in his hand. He could turn this hand into a bluff.
Return it into a bluff. He's already done it once, but you're right. And that might. Oh, but he
did fold though.
Having the 8 in your hand is enough to really make that play, and I don't know. It might have worked. It might have worked. I mean, Seth, how can you call, right? As someone might say, how can he call?
I mean, even if Seth had a 3, he would be hard pressed to call.
Right. Seth went probably a little too thin there for value, and wow, Arseny was thinking about it at least, and I don't think it was to call. I think it was to put in the potential 3-bet with the blocker. That would have been incredible.
Not much of a flop here for these guys.
Yeah, Jamie points out that Seth is the same player who also raised with the 9-high flush against Arseny earlier, when we were thinking like there probably wasn't any value to be had with the raise based on how the hand had played out and the size of the pot and things. So he's going for really thin value raises on the river is what we should notice.
Yeah,
that may play out later. Like if Arseny really has it and Seth is coolered, he may lose more in a pot than he should as a result.
Queen Deuce going to take this one down.
Miracle turn card. By the way,
exciting.
Serious Isness says his name is Vance with an A. Is that because of Mike Sexton's accent? We're saying that? Like, well, Vance. That is what he's saying. Now that I've said it out loud. It's obviously Vince, V-I-N-C, of course, but
yeah,
it's the way Mike says it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe the way that you say it when you're being Mike.
Well, Vance. Actually, if I think Vance and say it that way, it does work. All right. Here's the 3-bet for Seth.
Should end things.
It's a weird hand to do it with because getting 4-bet is like just the worst feeling in the world with that hand, right?
Maybe heads up, you're just willing to go with ace 10 for maybe 35 bigs.
It's not crazy. If you're willing to go with it, then I support it. If you think Arseny is, capable of 4-betting you light with an ace, then it could be a great hand to go with.
Hey, speaking of light, Arseny going with a light 3-bet.
Well, I guess we're going to find out what Seth Fisher thinks of ace 10 right now. Because he could 4-bet it. This does play perfectly fine as a call.
Ooh, this might be it. This could be the end of the tournament right here if it's a clean run out.
We'll see. I don't know. I don't know if RC's going to have to lose all his chips here. He may not have to, even on a clean run out.
Yeah, you're right. But it's going to hurt a lot most of the time.
Seth is thinking a lot. This seems like I know Seth makes a lot of thin value raises. This feels like a really clear call. He does call. Super safe 5.
Seth has position here, which is really nice. He gets to make sure bets go in on the turn and river if he wants to.
Yeah, and I would fully expect him to do so to deny equity if Arseny ever checks the turn right here. This feels like a great spot to make a bet. Doesn't have to be huge. 1.2, 1.3 is all you need. Sets up a river shove really nicely too.
I think I like 2 a little bit better because it gets called with similar frequency and you get the easier river shove to get called by more weaker hands. He does go more with your sizing.
Yeah, I'm worried about blowing a hand like a 7 or pocket 8s off. Like if they're going to call 2 million, I'm not sure if they are. But you might be right. It's hard to know. Anyway, Arseny probably just has to call for 900K. Yeah, and that is not the cleanest card.
It's a pretty wet river card.
Things were super clean, and now not so much. Probably it's going to go check here. Seth, though, does go for thin value. We know it. We've seen it.
Blinds do go up in 3 hands. Another factor here.
Seth started considering it. He would have checked back. He does check back, but he knew it was close. And the rich get richer, Grant. Hey, you see all that money on the other end of the table? I didn't really notice that before.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It's pretty sweet. That's whoever wins gets all that money. And by the way, I do know that GG has that is actually the right amount of money for the 440K or whatever.
Yeah.
That's
you have to do that legally. You legally,
yeah.
When representing money, it has to be the actual amount.
Otherwise, it's false advertising gets sued. So yeah, so Seth Fisher is looking at that and he's like, that will be mine if I hold on. But what a spot, man. Over 4-1 chip lead for Seth Fisher, who was short all the way down to about 3-handed.
And we are up to 250K big one. We got jacks here for Arseny.
And
hoping Seth shoves.
He could. It's less than 20 blinds. It's very reasonable to shove here.
Does just call, though.
Calls.
Gets the terrible flop for Queen 10 and a great flop for jacks.
Man, he could have shoved that. It's unlucky for Arseny, really, that he didn't get 3-bet there.
I think it's much more common to call than shove with Queen 10 for that stack depth.
This could be another one.
Hands. Very reasonable hands here.
Arseny could decide to turn Jack 9 suited into a bluff and just 3-bet it. But it also plays well as a call, of course. But
plays great as a call.
Plays better in position, but sure. Outflops the King Jack.
Although there are 2 overs, only one of them good. Backdoor flush draw and gut shot for Seth.
Yep. Seth has a lot going on.
He's got a nice apartment. He's got 3 different sizes of luggage, not just like one,
His brothers love him. There's the call. And that's a pretty good card for Arseny. He could be drawing dead, and he leads to deny equity. Look at this perfect lead here. Assuming Seth doesn't move in on him. But
that would be
see how
bad.
Seth can raise. It's a great denial of equity, blocking bet. Does all these things and gets called. Wow. What do you do now? You got a full house, but Seth could really have the better full house.
I think you check. I don't think you can expect to get called by a worse hand. So I think you check.
I think you're probably right. And you hope that Seth's going to have some bluffs in him.
Well,
but instead,
he does bet.
He bets too much. I mean, he wasn't going to get called anyway, but
Seth
he bets
can't
a
beat
lot.
anything.
Right. I mean, what do you hope? You need to get called by like queens here now. Like that's what you're hoping. That's what you're targeting, right? With this 2 million chip bet.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that river bet.
I think it really plays much better as a check. I agree with you. I don't think Seth was going to call with ace high. So, all right, on to the next.
Nobody with anything. Is Seth going to take a stab here? Nope. I'd expect Arseny to, given 2 opportunities, and he's got 10 high, but he doesn't, and Seth rivers a king.
It's really strange to decide to play a hand this trashy this way, you know, not to raise it or not to put an aggressive action at any point when your opponent is being passive the whole time. By the way, Seth down to 51 seconds time-wise. And Arseny is using his clock. Must be have nefarious intentions here, Grant.
Yeah.
There's the raise.
This is a tough spot for Seth.
What are you supposed to do?
The story is not adding up to me, Arseny's story here. I mean, I guess you could check a deuce 3 times. I guess you could check a flush draw and a flush on the turn, but no. Seth doesn't believe, and neither did I.
Yeah. I think Arseny wasn't even trying to get like a good hand to fold, just trying to fold out better bad hands, better bluffs even.
Yeah.
With 10 high, which that would have worked on, of course. But nice call by Seth.
It was.
Seth just, flops a 6. I mean, I guess this is how you're supposed to do it with the clock, right? Your head's up and you're down to 2 minutes and the other guy has 38 seconds. Like, you did pretty well with your clock to get this far. That's too bad for Seth. He had a nice jam spot there over an open. Here's another nice jam spot.
He could just be jamming there, but
Absolutely.
An open is fine too.
Yeah.
Well, this could be it. We could be getting it in here, and Seth is a massive favorite.
Yeah. Seth has enough chips that he can really call a big raise here by Arseny. They may just go with this. Nope.
Nope. Instead, Arseny just calls, and this might save Arseny's tournament for now.
Yeah.
I think Seth should check this back.
No question. No question. How do you get value now? And you're not really afraid of any card.
Good check back. All right. Now his hope is that Arseny takes a stab.
Arseny might. He does block the nuts. Seth, check back the turn.
There it is. Tiny stab,
can have a deuce. It's a sort of a trivial call ultimately for Seth, I think. The hand is good. There it is.
I think he was contemplating a raise. You know how he likes to try to get thin value, but that would have been too thin.
Definitely. Arseny keeps bluffing into Seth's top pair. Has not been working out.
Not a good strategy if you know your opponent has top pair.
Yeah, it's true. Targeting weak range is better than targeting strong ranges. Generally works as a strategy.
Somebody's got to stab at this, right?
You would think.
Well, 3 makes a straight. Anybody could rep that.
By the way, I'm looking into Seth's history a little bit. He does have a second place finish in a $2,500 World Series of Poker No Limit Hold'em 6-handed event back in 2008, though, for $330,000. That's his biggest score. So he's been heads up before for a bracelet.
It's been 12 years, though.
It sure has. A lot's changed in 12 years, but here he is. He's got the chip lead. Things are good.
Yeah, Arseny just moves the ace-9 in. Reasonable.
Yeah. Arseny, by the way, first place in the 2017 Party Poker Live German Poker Championship for 185,000 euro. Those are the two players' biggest scores. So they have played for big money before.
Yep.
It's been a little while for each of them, but still. Nice flop here for Seth. Will Arseny once again try and bluff Seth off top pair?
Yes.
So far, the answer is yes. But it's, one blind. It's more about the second and third barrel. Don't raise, Seth. Don't raise it. You have 11
he's about to
left.
run out of time here. He needs to start making quicker decisions.
I know. Arseny picks up some equity on the turn, but checks it back. If Seth bets, he's trying to get value out of a 9 exactly.
Oh, his clock is really running out.
Jeez.
From now on, his decisions are going to have to be really fast.
Yeah. Well, at least he's got a monster chip lead.
Yeah, that helps.
It really does. He's like, I just need to cooler this guy. Just get this thing over with. I got 6 seconds here. This is like when they're playing chess, and one guy's running out of time and the other dude's just hitting the button as fast as possible. Another monster flop for Seth. Seth is flopping really, really well.
It helps to flop well when your head's up. It's nice.
Yeah. He's just had it so much. And having it sometimes just top pair, but still.
He checks back the trips. Checks back the trips, which turned out to be a great decision here because he wasn't getting any value. Now, can he check back again? Like Johnny Chan, the master.
He could put a little chum in the water, though, see if Arseny jumps on it. But Arseny might bluff here, though. Arseny has taken some shots. It's not unreasonable to bluff here if you're Arseny.
He does not,
but never tries. Well, unless Arseny loses his mind completely, we'll be on to the next hand. Yep. It's a 6-1 chip lead now for Seth Fisher.
Ooh, Arseny with the somewhat sneaky limp. I feel like that hand plays better as a shove. And
me too.
That can happen right there. The old queen high flop.
Instead of just taking it down and moving on to the next thing, I have to navigate this and, try and bluff Seth off a top pair, which, as we know, does not work. But, by the way, Seth just keeps flopping top pair or better. What is going on? This is crazy.
And he keeps having these relatively easy decisions and using up his clock, which is down to 3 seconds.
I wonder if Arseny just feels like he's being completely owned. He's like, that guy just always he just keeps making the right play. And it's like, no, he just keeps flopping well. But it probably from Arseny's point of view, he hasn't seen that many of Seth's hands,
Wow, Arseny makes the call.
King high, yeah. He thinks Seth has been playing with him and working him, but Seth hasn't been. Seth's just playing his hands.
This should be a shove.
Very little trickeration. Yeah. Very little trickeration Seth's been doing, but it doesn't feel like it from Arseny's point of view, so he called there. I question that call also because he had the king of clubs in his hand. It's a hand. It's like a card you really want in your opponent's hand, I think. Anyway.
Seth could call this.
He could. He really could. King high, it's only 8 blinds.
He lets it go, though. I think that's supposed to be. I think that's supposed to be a call.
I think you're right. If Seth shoves, we might be all in right here. I
think we should be. No, he limps. Weird.
Arseny should just shove this.
Absolutely, and he does.
There it is. Seth's like, God.
Seth should be folding or shoving from the small blind with Arsony stack like this. I mean, maybe he's trying to establish more of a range where he can limp with big hands, but I don't know if that's valuable at this point.
No, just pick up the chips in the middle and once in a while, and or get it in and win, and it's over. Seems like the way to do it. Poker Channel says, "What the fuck is wrong with Seth with the fucking clock? Jesus." Yeah, he's got 2 seconds, so that's a problem. Well, at least he's got a huge chip lead, and the blinds are, well, they're pretty big, so this could be over any second. His opponent only has 10 blinds. Seth can basically just move in pre-flop or fold every time and not have to think about it.
Yeah, I think there might be a hand where he accidentally folds or checks because of his clock situation, though. He doesn't seem accustomed to acting within the initial time constraints,
Poker Channel says, "It is driving me crazy," which is an incredible thing to write. Just amazing.
Cash games versus tournaments discussed. Damn, James Bondarchuk always wants us to talk for I guess the podcast is for James Bondarchuk because we talk for 45 minutes about a single hand. But these are expansive things that we're talking about here.
Go ahead.
I like tournaments. I personally like tournaments better. I'm better at tournaments than I am at cash games. I enjoy that there's a narrative and there's different stages and there's different types of pressure you can put on people. I think that makes them more fun to me. I think the end stages of big tournaments where the payouts are real, like we're seeing here, is the very best thing in poker and the most fun thing and the most exciting thing to be a part of in poker. So as far as enjoyment, I prefer tournaments for those reasons.
That's all fair. I would say for almost everyone in the world who's a good poker player, and good meaning like at a level where you are a plus EV to play, cash games are going to be more profitable than tournaments for almost everybody over the long haul. Just because tournaments are high variance, and so often, no matter what you do, you can have a whole year be really good and lose money, but that can't really happen with cash if you're playing enough. So,
well, I think I disagree with you slightly as far as the expected value. You're saying that cash game is going to be more plus EV for a good player. I don't think that's true. I just think
most of them.
I just think that the median outcome is better for cash games, for each individual cash game session for a good player than the median outcome for tournaments because of the ways payouts are structured. I think plus EV tournament player can be just as plus EV as a plus EV cash game player, but you might not be able to get the volume in, especially if you're only playing live, to realize that expected value because the majority of your expected value is predicated on those big scores that come rarely.
I'm going to disagree with you a bit, though. Because the nature of the blinds going up in poker lowers some of the edge that some of the best players can have. Like the deeper stack play is often where your edge is going to be at its strongest. Not to say you don't have an edge at other stack depths too. Clearly, against a lot of fields, you're going to have an edge at any stack depth, right? Like people are going to misplay their stack sizes. But it's harder for people to misplay an 8 blind stack than it is for them to misplay a 200 blind stack. And we see that a lot. So I think the nature of poker tournaments create situations where your edge can't be as strong as it can be in a cash game where you can always be 200 blinds deep against your opposition no matter what. So that's the one piece of it.
That's a good point.
Thanks.
But the thing beyond just pure expected value, you can take the same amount of money and have a much higher top end upside in tournaments than you can in cash.
No question about it. No question. But on the other side, one of the greatest things about as someone who has been mainly a cash game player most of my life, although I played a lot of tournaments too, there's something really psychologically wonderful about winning a lot, and when you play cash, if you're good, you win. If you win like 60 to 65% of the time, I would say, of your sessions. And that's just never going to be true in poker tournaments. So unless you're actually hitting some big scores in poker tournaments that month or those 2 months, psychologically, it can be tough for people, and like we've all been in those ruts where you just like lose and lose and lose and lose and lose. And it just sucks. So cash also, I think, is easier psychologically if you're a winning player.
Right. But I guess we're speaking about this in too binary of a way because the majority of players who play frequently or are professionals do both play a lot of cash and tournaments. I would say almost every tournament player, especially live tournament players, also play cash. Maybe not every cash player also plays tournaments, but
that's pretty much true anyway. I mean, the thing is though, like really good there's a bunch of like tournament specialists who will play cash, but they play much smaller cash than they would play like a commensurate tournament. They'll play much bigger tournaments because they feel so much more
that's actually
comfortable.
I mean, to a smaller extent, that's me. I feel like I am significantly better at tournaments than I am at cash, and I will not play higher than 5-10 cash, but I will play a 10K buy-in main event tournament.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, I guess I'm similar now that I think about it. I mean, like I played like the highest I played in terms of stakes is like 40-80, which kills to like 50-100 kind of thing.
You're talking about limit. Let's make that clear. That's
no, of course. But I'm talking about, but buy-in is similar, right? So buy-in for that is like between 2 and 3K. So that gives you a sense of like what it is. But I bought into the World Series main event like you have, and I'm certainly like comfortable buying into like a 1500 with at the World Series. Like happy to do it, in fact, because my God. My God, those are great. So yeah, I feel you. The thing that's so tough though is playing think about like 1500. So I've had 3 different runs in $1,500 events in the World Series where I finished about 100th. All right, I see we're back, so I'll talk about this as we go. But I finished about 100th, so I got close to really really big money. Like I did it once in the Millionaire Maker, once in the Monster Stack, and once just another 1500. But didn't hit really big money. And it's like several days of playing to like just do pretty well. That's rough, man. Anyway, here we go.
We might have one here. Arseny does call.
Yeah, we do. Seth Fisher got to be thrilled to be ahead with King 7.
Still ahead. Needs to dodge some runners. Now just a jack and a 10.
Oh, man, we're 1 card away. Squeeze it slow, Arseny. Squeeze it real slow. You need a jack or a 10.
It's a 7. And
it's over.
Seth Fisher wins a bracelet. He wins $456,000 according to that right there. I don't know. That number is always a little different than the posted number, but whatever. It's more.
I think it's because they include the package. I think the Europe package with it, so it's another like 15K or something. But anyway, how about that?
Congratulations to all of the players and to Seth Fisher in particular for winning. Good event, good payouts. I wish I won, but I didn't. Yeah. Anyway, our next stream is going to be on Wednesday. It is the $2,500 double stack, so that should be it. That should be a good one, and I hope to see you guys there.